Before marriage, before the pictures and pretty dresses, there were two girls who shared a small room, a single bed, and what they called friendship. Their names were Esther and Blessing. They met in their third year at the university. The hostel had run out of rooms, and Esther, quiet, graceful, and with the kind of beauty that didn't beg for attention, was told to share with Blessing, a girl known for her sharp tongue, her bright clothes, and her rich father who gave her everything. Esther came from a family that was neither rich nor poor. She had just enough. Blessing, on the other hand, always wanted to be the loudest voice in the room. And when she wasn't, something inside her turned dark. At first, things were fine. The two girls laughed, cooked noodles together, took turns plaiting each other's hair, and even shared clothes. But soon, Blessing began to notice something. It wasn't Esther's calmness. It wasn't even her looks. It was the way people responded to Esther without her trying. If a guy walked into the hostel and saw both of them, his eyes always settled on Esther just a second too long. If there was a group discussion, someone would always say, "Let Esther talk, she knows how to put it well." And Blessing would smile. But inside her, she was bitter. One evening, after classes, they sat on their bunk. Esther's face was glowing. Not with makeup, but with joy. "Blessing, I met someone," she whispered, as if love had given her a secret to hold. Blessing turned to her, pretending to be interested. "Who? Where? What's he like?" Esther began to speak, not with foolish excitement, but with quiet certainty. "His name is Michael. He's not that flashy. But he's kind. He listens. He prays with me. I think he's serious. He's talking about marriage." That last word, marriage, hit Blessing like a slap. She was the one from the wealthy family. She was the one everyone called Lady B. Yet here was Esther, the soft-spoken church girl, being chosen first. Her heart did not clap for her friend. It clenched. Blessing didn't show it. She leaned back on her pillow and said sweetly, "But is he handsome, tall, rich? I mean, does he even have a car? As a fine babe, you need a man that will worship the ground you walk on." Esther smiled gently, as if she had expected this. "Blessing, that is not all that matters. And not every empty wallet will remain empty. I'm not marrying his bank account. Besides, I'm looking at his heart, his patience. The way he treats me, his family and people around him, with respect." That reply did something to Blessing. She nodded. She smiled. She even said, "Oh." 1 year had passed since that late-night conversation in the hostel. Love, it seemed, had blossomed into something real. Esther's wedding was finally here. The hall was decorated with golden drapes and cream roses. Her gown had been chosen. The invites sent. The joy, overflowing. But amidst all the excitement, one voice was missing. The voice of her maid of honor. Her friend. Her sister. Blessing. That morning, just as Esther was getting her makeup done, her phone rang. It was Blessing. Her voice was shaky, almost broken. "Esther. I'm so sorry." Esther, half-dressed in her satin robe, heart pounding, moved to a quiet corner. "Blessing, what is the problem? Are you okay? Please tell me you're all right." There was silence. Then a dramatic sigh. "It's my leg. I had an accident yesterday on my way back from work. I fell badly. The doctors said it's dislocated. I'm at the hospital." Esther's eyes welled with tears. "Oh my God. Blessing, you should have told me. Which hospital? I'll come and see you." No, Blessing cut in, her voice suddenly sharp. "This is your day. Don't let my bad luck ruin it. Go and be happy. Just come and see me when everything is over. Be happy and have fun," Blessing said. And then she ended the call. But as the screen dimmed, Blessing lowered her phone slowly. She wasn't in the hospital. She wasn't injured. She sat comfortably on her couch, her legs perfectly fine, sipping a chilled drink. Her makeup was done, she had planned to attend but changed her mind. Her lips curled into a grin. And just before taking a sip, she muttered, "Let's see how perfect you'll look without me beside you." 2 years later, both women had entered the next chapter of their lives, marriage. Esther had grown softer, fuller in joy. Her eyes sparkled not just with makeup, but with peace. Her husband, Michael, though not a millionaire, had grown his small business into something stable. He loved her deeply, not just in words, but in action. Blessing, on the other hand, had married the kind of man she always described as her standard: tall, handsome, wealthy, commanding. The type that drove a new car every 1 year and smelled like foreign perfume. On the outside, both women looked fulfilled. But only one of them truly was. One Saturday afternoon, they sat in Blessing's luxurious living room, cushions too soft, air conditioner too cold. They sipped wine as usual, laughing between sips and scrolling through their phones. "I'm glad Michael is doing well now," Blessing said, eyes still fixed on her screen, voice light but sharp underneath. "But that still doesn't mean you did the right thing by marrying him when you did. I mean, you rushed." Esther smiled gently, lowering her glass. "Blessing, I'm glad I did. My husband doesn't just love me, he loves my family. He's kind, patient, thoughtful, he listens. I made the best decision." Those words pierced Blessing like thorns. Because her own reality was different. Her husband, Ernest, was everything she had dreamt of in appearance, but not in heart. He hardly came home. He never called her family. He bought gifts, yes. But no amount of luxury replaced the loneliness. They quarreled often. Not over big things, but enough to make silence feel safer than conversation. But how could she say all this? No, she had to match Esther's joy. Even if it was a lie. She tossed her weave to the side, grinned wide, and said, "My husband behaves exactly in the same manner like your husband, if not more. You know Ernest, pampers me like egg. That car outside. He got it for me yesterday. And he's promised me a vacation any country I want. He worships the ground I walk on, my dear." Esther chuckled, eyes warm. I'm happy we made good choices, Blessing." Blessing smiled. But it didn't reach her eyes. Because what she didn't say was that the car was a peace offering after a week of coldness and shouting. She didn't say that he booked the vacation without asking if she was free. She didn't say he hadn't touched her with kindness in months. But in this friendship, appearances had become the new. 4 years had passed. Esther's home was still standing. Still full of laughter. Still full of peace. But one thing was missing. A cry. A baby's cry. She had prayed. Waited. Fasted. She and Michael had been to the hospital, test after test, checkup after checkup. The doctors told them the same thing every time. "You're both fine. Just be patient." But patience has an expiration date in a world where people start counting your womb from the day you say "I do." Esther's heart grew heavy. One warm Tuesday afternoon, Esther sat in Blessing's living room, shoulders slouched, eyes tired. She had just returned from another hospital appointment. Another test. Another doctor's smile saying, "Everything looks fine. Just give it time." But time was no longer a comfort. Blessing placed a cold glass of juice in front of her and sat down slowly, studying her. She was quiet for a moment. Then she said softly, "Esther, don't be offended. But maybe it's time to try something else." Esther looked up, puzzled. "Like what?" Blessing leaned in. "A woman I know. Not just any woman, a real herbalist. Pure. Powerful. Quiet. She doesn't take many people. But the women who've seen her, they got pregnant. Not 1, not 2. She has the gift." Esther was silent. Blessing continued quickly. "Look, you said you've done all the tests. You're fine. Michael is fine. So what is delaying it? You just need to look at it the traditional way too. And this woman. She doesn't do any strange thing. She just gives you a natural mixture to drink. Herbs. That's all. The kind your grandmother's generation used." Esther hesitated. She stared into her glass. "I don't know, Blessing. I've never been to places like this before." "Exactly," Blessing said. "And has it solved your problem? Let's try something else. Just once. You'll go, collect the herbs, drink it. If nothing happens, at least you'll say you tried everything. Don't you want peace of mind?" Blessing asked. The room fell quiet. Esther's heart was beating fast. She hated the idea of doing anything outside her faith, outside what she believed, but what if Blessing was right? What if all this was not medical at all? And what if one day, Emeka stopped smiling, and started looking elsewhere? Blessing reached out, touched her hand, smiled sweetly. "I'll even go with you. You won't be alone." The compound was quiet. The ground was tarred, smooth and warm under their feet. It was the kind of place where even birds knew not to chirp too loud. Esther stepped down from the car slowly, her fingers curled tightly around her bag strap. Blessing led the way confidently, as though she'd been here more than once. At the doorway stood a woman, quiet and strange, wrapped in white from head to toe. Her eyes were sharp. Too sharp. She didn't say a word. She simply stood, arms folded, studying Esther like one might study a book with hidden pages. For a long moment, the woman said nothing, just stared. Then, without speaking, she gestured at Blessing to follow her inside the room. Blessing obeyed. Esther was left in the living room, on a chair, surrounded by silence. Inside the room, Esther could hear only murmurs. The sound of whispering. Then her name. Then silence. She looked around the living room, feeling suddenly cold, though the day was warm. A few minutes later, the door opened again. The woman stepped out, holding a small green bottle. It was sealed with red wax, and inside was a thick, dark, strange-looking liquid. It looked like something ancient. She handed the bottle to Esther gently and finally spoke. "After you eat, take 3 spoons. Use plenty of water. Then lie down. Do not move. Do not talk. Let the medicine do its work." Esther nodded, quietly. She took the bottle with both hands, thanked the woman with a small voice, and placed it carefully in her bag. Blessing stepped out behind her, smiling as usual. "You see. Nothing scary. Just herbs." Esther tried to smile, but her heart was beating fast. As they turned to go, she looked over her shoulder one last time. The woman was still standing there, still watching. Her eyes didn't blink. The house was quiet. Dinner had been light yam porridge and a glass of warm water. Michael had kissed her goodnight and fallen into his usual peaceful sleep, breathing softly beside her. But Esther couldn't sleep. Her mind was loud. Her heart, unsure. Still, she reached into her bag, pulled out the bottle, and stared at it for a long time. "Just herbs," she whispered to herself. She opened the cap, took 3 spoons, drank plenty of water, and lay down, just like the woman said. Within minutes, sleep took her. But by 3:02 a.m., Esther's eyes snapped open, her stomach turned violently. Pain. Sharp. Hot. It struck like lightning and stayed like fire. She clutched her belly and groaned, rolling off the bed. Her lips parted, but before she could cry out, she was already vomiting onto the floor. Her hands shook uncontrollably. Her breath became short. She tried to stand. Failed. Then came the stooling. Fast. Uncontrollable. Her strength began to drain. Her vision blurred. "Jesus, help me." She managed to reach out and tap Michael weakly. He turned quickly, startled. One look at her, and panic exploded in his eyes. "Esther, what's wrong? What's happening?" She could barely answer. Her lips were pale, her body trembling. Michael jumped out of bed, grabbed the car keys with one hand and her wrist with the other. By 3:25 a.m., they were speeding through dark roads to the nearest hospital. In the car, Esther could barely sit upright. Michael kept glancing at her, her sweat-soaked skin, her quivering hands, the way she was losing consciousness. At the hospital, nurses rushed with a stretcher. Doctors shouted orders. Drips. Injections. Questions. Michael stood frozen at the emergency room door, helpless. Afraid. And inside him, a deep, rising fear whispered. What is going on? The waiting room was cold. Michael sat on the edge of the plastic chair, his elbows resting on his knees, his eyes fixed on the door the doctors had carried his wife through hours ago. His hands wouldn't stop shaking. He had never seen Esther like that, pale, breathless, her body limp like something drained of life. He had prayed without words. Just whispers and tears. At exactly 6:47 a.m., A female doctor, mid-40s, calm, composed, stepped out of the theater. Her mask hung below her chin. Her face was clean, but her eyes were heavy with news. Mr. Michael? He jumped up. Yes. Yes, doctor. How is she? The doctor gave a short nod. She's alive. You brought her just in time. Michael's knees almost buckled in relief. Thank God. Thank you, Jesus. But the doctor didn't smile. She looked at him, serious. Almost confused. We had to carry out an emergency evacuation. Your wife had complications from a ruptured pregnancy. Michael froze. Ruptured? Michael asked. Yes, the doctor continued. She was already bleeding internally. We had to act fast. The pregnancy had to be removed. Michael's voice dropped. Confused. Hollow. I don't understand. What pregnancy? It wasn't visible yet. But from all signs and the tissue we removed, it was early stage. About 6 weeks. 6 weeks, he repeated, his voice cracking. Yes, she said. Then added, softly. If she had been brought later, she would have lost not just the baby, but her life. Michael took a slow step backward. His heartbeat changed. A silence that didn't just sit in the room, it pressed on Michael's chest like weight. His lips parted, but no sound came. Just confusion. Hurt. 2 weeks had passed. 2 long, aching, silent weeks. And though Esther's body had begun to heal, her heart had not. The warmth in her home had disappeared. Michael came home late every day now. Sometimes close to midnight. No explanations. No excuses. He barely spoke. He barely looked at her. And when he did, it was with eyes that seemed to carry a question, or worse, disappointment. Esther sat curled on the couch, phone pressed to her ear. Blessing. I don't know what to do. He barely talks to me. It's like I'm living with a stranger. On the other end, Blessing exhaled dramatically. My dear, stop killing yourself with worry. You just lost a baby, your body is still recovering. This is not the time to be thinking about any man's face. You need to rest and also heal. I know, but... And where is he? Blessing snapped softly. Out. Late. Every night. While you're at home crying. Esther was quiet. Look, Esther, Blessing continued, lowering her voice like a caring sister. You need to be wise. You just lost a baby, and instead of holding your hand, his disappearing. Don't be surprised if he's already keeping company outside. Esther's heart dropped. Michael wouldn't. Wouldn't what? Blessing cut in quickly. Wouldn't cheat. Esther, please. Wake up. You said it yourself, he's changed. But, maybe he's just waiting for me to talk, Esther said, her voice cracking. Maybe he wants me to open up first. Maybe he's hurting too, but doesn't know how to bring it up. Blessing chuckled bitterly. You're too naive, my dear. Is he not the man in this marriage? Is he not supposed to lead with love and maturity? What kind of man sulks in silence when his wife is recovering from surgery? He used to be so kind, Esther whispered. Used to be, Blessing said coldly. My own husband. Chem. He would never treat me this way. He would book me a spa retreat. Send me on vacation. He would sit beside me every night, rubbing my feet. You see, that's the difference. You always said your husband was caring. That he loved your family. That he valued you. She scoffed softly. Where is that man now? Esther wiped her tears. Just stop hoping for a man who doesn't even notice you're breaking. Take care of yourself. He'll come around. Or not. Either way, you'll survive. When the call ended, Esther sat in silence, her emotions a storm inside her. Was Michael really seeing someone else? Was he punishing her silently? Or was this all just her imagination, fueled by pain and fear? In another house across town, Blessing closed her phone, smiled, and sipped her juice. Let's see how long before everything falls apart. The night was still. The streets were quiet. And Michael sat alone in his car, parked a few meters away from the house he no longer recognized. His hands rested on the steering wheel, unmoving. He had been sitting there for over 20 minutes, engine off, window halfway down, as the warm night air pressed against his skin. Inside the house, the lights were still on. Esther was probably waiting. Or maybe not. He didn't know anymore. How did we get here? That was the only question that kept ringing in his mind, over and over again. He closed his eyes and leaned his head back, remembering the first time he saw her. The way she laughed. The way she prayed. The way she made everywhere feel like peace. And now everything felt like a stranger had moved into his wife's body. She was pregnant, and I didn't even know. She lost our child, and didn't tell me what happened. She lied to me, or maybe she just didn't trust me enough to tell the truth. He let out a slow, painful breath. He wasn't angry at her. He wasn't even bitter. He was just broken. Disappointed. We prayed for that baby. 4 years. Together. And now I find out I was the only one trying. How do I even ask her the questions burning in my heart without destroying her further? Every time he looked at her now, he saw 2 things. The woman he loved with every piece of his heart. The same woman who had hidden the most important part of their lives from him. A soft knock on his window startled him. It was the security man. "Sir, are you okay?" Michael nodded and gave a small smile. "I'm fine. Just needed some air." The man nodded and left. Michael turned back to look at the house. The same door he used to rush into, now felt like a wall. Maybe she has her reasons. Maybe I should talk to her. Maybe I'm also failing her by keeping quiet. But something inside him had shifted. And no matter how much he wanted to forgive, he didn't. The days turned into weeks, and Esther's home was colder than ever. She and Michael barely spoke. When they were in the same room, it felt like 2 ghosts passing each other. No questions. No laughter. No warmth. One Thursday morning, Blessing came to visit, dressed in her usual fitted gown, with perfectly styled hair and her glittering rings dancing in the sunlight. She walked in, sat cross-legged in the living room like it was her house, and started her usual sweet poison. "My dear, your face is looking somehow. Are you still letting this man stress your soul?" Esther sank into the chair across from her, looking tired. "I'm just tired, Blessing. Nothing is changing. He still stays out late. Still avoids talking. I don't know what to think anymore." Blessing hissed loudly. "What do you need to think? It's obvious, nah. He's showing you who he really is, believe him." Esther looked down. Her voice was soft. "But maybe I should have explained what happened. Maybe he's hurt I didn't tell him." Blessing snapped her fingers. "NN. Hurt? Please don't even start. Was it your fault? Were you the one who gave yourself the mixture? Did you plan to lose your baby? CN, men like this, always playing the victim when it suits them. Do you know what I would have done if I were you?" Esther didn't answer. "I would stop cooking completely. No food. I'd pack into the guest room and mind my business. That's what he wants, ABI. Silence and distance. Give it to him with full chess." Esther blinked. "But, if I do that, won't it get worse?" Blessing leaned forward, voice louder now. "Worse? My sister, wake up. He has already abandoned you emotionally. You're still here playing wife duties. For what?" She clapped once and continued. My husband can't try this with me, oh. God forbid. My home is a peaceful home. My husband knows what he has. You see all these broke, entitled men? They want you to carry the load and still be saying thank you." Esther gave a small, bitter laugh, the kind that doesn't come from amusement, but from exhaustion. "Maybe I really made a mistake marrying him." Blessing's eyes gleamed. "No, maybe. You did. But don't worry. There's still time to rewrite your life. You're still beautiful. Still young. Still desirable. If this man doesn't come correct, life goes on." As Blessing picked up her bag to leave, she touched Esther's chin gently. "You deserve better. Don't let love make you a slave." She walked out, leaving behind a house that now felt even more like a battlefield than before. And behind her, Esther sat alone, repeating her words in her mind like a silent chant. Don't let love make you a slave. Esther had begun to do what Blessing suggested. She stopped waking early to cook. She stopped checking whether he had eaten. Some days, she wouldn't even open the bedroom curtains. She now slept in the guest room not because Emeka asked her to, but because pride and pain had eaten her softness. The evening sun cast a warm glow over the neighborhood as Blessing stepped out of the Uber. Her freshly braided hair bounced slightly with each step as she approached the gate to her duplex. She had just left Esther's house, where she once again played the role of the wise, confident, happily married woman. The woman with all the answers. The woman with the perfect life. But the moment she spotted her husband's car parked in the driveway, her smile disappeared. Her heart skipped. His home. Why is he back this early? She quietly unlocked the front door and stepped inside. The house was silent. Too silent. She dropped her handbag carefully, almost tiptoeing across the marble floor. And then she saw him, seated in the living room, legs crossed, swirling the last bit of wine in a glass. Her husband. His eyes lifted slowly as she entered. "I came home and didn't see you." His voice wasn't calm. He was angry. It was sharp. Blessing straightened. "I went to see Esther, and then I stopped at the salon." He stared at her for a long second, then scoffed. "If only you had something meaningful to do with your life." The words cut her like a slap. "Jobless fellow." He hissed, stood, and walked away, leaving the empty wineglass behind. Blessing stood frozen. Hands shaking. Eyes wide. No response. No tears. Just quiet. Just shame. She didn't chase after him. She didn't ask for an explanation. She simply turned, picked up the glass, and placed it gently on the tray. Then she sat down, staring blankly at the television that wasn't even on. He's stressed. He's just tired. It's nothing. The lies she told herself echoed in her mind. The same way she made Esther feel like she had the upper hand. When in truth, she was drowning too. Blessing paced the living room, checking the time for the third time in 20 minutes. It was 12 a.m. Still no sign of her husband. When he finally stumbled in past midnight, the smell hit her before he said a word: alcohol, cheap perfume, and something else she couldn't name. "Where the hell have you been?" she snapped, arms folded tightly. He didn't even flinch. "You reek of alcohol," she added, voice rising. "You're a married man, not some nightclub teenager. And you're a full-grown woman who does nothing but lounge and lie to her friends all day," he fired back. She gasped. "Excuse you? You heard me. What are you even doing with your life, Blessing? You walk around acting like you're queen of something, but you've got nothing going on. So now I'm a failure," she scoffed. "Out of my way," he shouted. He turned and walked upstairs. She turned and followed him upstairs, shouting, furious. The next evening, the house was quiet. She sat on the couch, scrolling through Instagram stories of other couples, other fake smiles. Her husband walked in with 2 small travel bags and a manila envelope. "What's this?" she asked, standing up. "Divorce papers." Ernest responded. "You're not serious." Blessing said. "Dead serious. You'll hear from my lawyer." "I don't want to keep pretending, Blessing. You're ending a marriage just like that. Because we argued?" He exhaled. "No. I'm ending it because this, you, has drained every last bit of peace I have left. I'm tired of living a lie." "So there's another woman?" He dropped the envelope on the table. "Keep the house. The cars. I don't care. Just sign the papers." He turned, picked up his bags, and walked out without looking back. She didn't cry. She didn't scream. She sat down, picked up the orange juice on the side table, and took a slow, deliberate sip. A week later, Esther had taken herself out for lunch at a quiet, classy restaurant. She needed space to think. Her home was still tense, and her mind was heavy. As she waited for her meal, she caught a glimpse of someone across the room. Tall. Sharp suit. Familiar. Blessing's husband, Ernest. And right beside him was a stunning woman, well-dressed, laughing, holding his arm like they had history. Esther blinked. Was she seeing right? She approached, unsure. "Hello, Ernest." He looked up, clearly surprised. But he smiled. "Ah, Esther. Hello. How's Blessing?" She told me you were out of town visiting her parents. His smile faded. Blessing still tells stories, huh? He leaned back in his chair. We're getting a divorce. I'm sure you'll hear eventually. When you do, tell her to sign the papers. I'm done living a lie. He stood, escorted the other woman to the car, and drove off, leaving Esther staring, stunned. Blessing sat in her usual corner of the couch, sipping chilled orange juice with her legs crossed, face calm, almost too calm. Esther sat across from her, her fingers loosely wrapped around her phone, unsure how to begin. She finally spoke. I saw your husband today. Blessing's hand froze slightly mid-air, but her smile remained. Oh, where? At Morningside Restaurant. Oh, he must have stopped by for a quick bite. He's supposed to be in Enugu visiting my parents. Esther held her gaze. He wasn't alone. Blessing's smile twitched. Oh, he was with another lady. They were laughing. Close. Really close. Blessing's face darkened slightly. Her posture stiffened. Esther. He told me something else too, Esther interrupted softly. He said you two are getting a divorce. The room turned cold. The air shifted. Blessing slowly dropped her glass onto the table and rose to her feet, eyes narrowed. Her tone snapped. Is that why you came to my house unannounced? To rub it in my face that my marriage has ended? No, Blessing, I just wanted to understand. You lied to me. I thought we were friends. I've been open about my family, my struggles. Why would you keep something this big from me? Blessing's voice rose. Because you always had everything. The good stuff. A peaceful home. A husband who dotes on you. You flaunted it. You made it so obvious every time you opened your mouth. Esther stared, stunned. Her lips parted, but she had no words. She hadn't seen any of this coming. You always made it look like you had the perfect life, Blessing continued, her voice trembling with rage. Perfect husband. Perfect home. Perfect you. She took a step closer, eyes burning. I knew you were pregnant, Esther. That day at the herbalist's. The woman told me. And when you lost that baby, it felt so good to see a crack in your perfect life. Esther gasped softly, hand on her chest. Blessing didn't stop. Now look at you, your husband barely talks to you. Your home is cold. And it's all falling apart. Now you know how it feels. But Esther wasn't listening anymore. Her mind had already drifted to her home, to Michael, to the joy they once shared. Tears welled up but didn't fall. She stood up quietly. Blessing was still talking, still spilling venom, but the words no longer reached her. Esther picked up her bag, her car keys, and walked to the door. Will things ever be okay again? Can we come back from this? As the door clicked shut behind her, the only sound left in the house was Blessing's heavy breathing and bitterness.
Dear viewers, sometimes the greatest battles we face don't come from strangers. They come from people closest to us. This story reminds us that not everyone singing your praise is genuinely happy for you. True strength is being honest, not pretending to have it all together. And most importantly, marriage is between two people, not the world, not even friends. Protect your home, guard your conversations. Not every truth belongs outside your doorstep. Thank you for listening to Stories by Zoma. These aren't just stories, they are mirrors, lessons, and reminders. If this touched you, don't forget to like, comment, and subscribe. Share it with someone who needs to hear it. Until next time, stay kind, stay wise, and keep the story alive.